Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel CyberSatrix. My name is Santosh and today I'm going to explain how to onboard GuardDuty to Splunk using SQSQ and the Amazon Event Bridge, which is formerly known as CloudWatch Events. This is the second video where I'm explaining how to onboard GuardDuty to the Splunk. In the previous video, I've explained how to integrate GuardDuty with Splunk via S3 bucket. And this is the second method through which you can onboard the GuardDuty using SQSQ in the Event Bridge. So yeah, you can use either of them depending on your requirement. So let's quickly jump on with the video. Okay. So one more thing to add here. In the previous video, I have given an overview of or a explanation of what is GuardDuty and KMS key. And in this video, I'm not going to repeat them. You can go back to my video to watch them. I'll provide the link for the same in the description. In this, before we jump on to the hands-on, I'm going to explain or give an overview of what is an SQSQ and what is an Amazon Event Bridge. So it will be easy for us to perform the hands-on. Okay, moving on. So what is Amazon SQSQ? Amazon SQSQ is basically a simple queue service, okay, which is introduced in late 2004, and it's a web service which lets you communicate over the internet. SQSQ is a distributed messaging queue service that enables the application to store the data in the queue and reliably send it over the internet. Okay, so there is a lot of confusion here. To explain in simple terms, let's say in our example what we're gonna do, we have the GuardDuty as our source application and the target application is Splunk here. So between these two, when the data needs to flow from the source to the target, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use SQSQ to store the messages, okay, such that even though if the connectivity is gone, we'll have those messages stored in the SQSQ until the connectivity comes up and we will not lose any data. I'll show you how you have to configure all those in the SQSQ, the retention part specifically, so that you don't lose the data. So this whole SQSQ concept is based upon producer consumer methodology in which the producer, which I just explained, the source application generates the data which needs to be pulled by the consumer, while the queue stores the data or messages temporarily based on the configuration or retention mentioned, right? Let us understand the same through a visual diagram. So as I mentioned, right, so you have a producer here, which is basically our GuardDuty here, that is source application, which is going to send the data, and there will be a consumer, which is the Splunk in our case, which is going to pull the data from the data which is stored in the SQSQ. Right? It's very simple. Producer sends the data, SQSQ stores the data or the messages to be pulled by the consumers. Okay. If I want to give a simple example, let us consider a website which is called Redbus, through which you can book tickets to your destination across India. So in this case, let's assume that there are 100 different users who are currently booking the ticket using the Redbus application or website. So in that case, what we can do is whenever a user is booking the ticket, it has to go through the payment gateway, right? So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna have these tickets sent to the SQSQ. They will be waiting for it to be pulled by the payment gateway where it will be processed, and then the ticket will be booked and provided an email to the users or the producers. So this is a very simple method which works based on producer and consumer methodology, where one sends the data, other pulls the data, and the SQSQ store the data temporarily for the consumers to be processed. Okay, hope you got an understanding. Moving ahead, so there are few key points about SQS. I will give you a description to the link also where you can get all this information. But I thought this would be beneficial if I mention few of the points here. So as I mentioned earlier, it will help you to send, store and receive the messages, and you can there may be multiple applications with low or higher volume. So this takes care that even though the source is sending a higher volume of data or messages, it doesn't get lost. The message size can range from 1 byte to 56 KB based on the source which is initiating or sending the messages. And if there's a requirement where you need to have a size larger than 256 KB, in that case you need to utilize the Amazon SQS extended client library, which supports up to 2 GB of data or message size. Now again, there are two queues which basically is supported by SQS. One is called the standard queue and other is FIFO, that is first in first out. So standard queue is basically all the data, all the messages will be stored in the queue, and there is no guarantee that they will be sent to the consumer based on the order, but it is a surety that each message will be processed at least once, right? So but if there is a requirement for you that you need to process all the messages in the order, then you can utilize the first in first out, right? Third thing, the SQS queue is basically a pull based service. On the other hand, if you would have heard about SNS, that is notification service, that is basically a push based service where the notifications are pushed. In the SQS queue, the messages are pulled by the consumer. By default, the retention period that is provided is 4 days, but the retention can range from 1 minute to 14 days depending on your requirement. So in this case, as I mentioned, that in case your connectivity is down with the consumer, you can troubleshoot and resolve that issue, and until then your data will reside in your SQS queue and you will not lose any messages which needs to be processed. And there is one more feature that is provided by AWS, and that is really beneficial, is dead letter queue or DLQ. The messages which are not processed successfully would be sent to the dead letter queue, so that at a later point of time you can come and check the reason for it being not processed, and you can troubleshoot the issue and you can resolve it. Now the second key concept that we're going to use during the hands-on is Amazon Event Bridge, which is also formerly known as CloudWatch Event. So they have added a lot of features in the Amazon Event Bridge, which I'll again provide a link so that you can go into the detail and check on that. But if you want me to create any new video on this which would be helpful for you, let me know and I can create a video explaining about the whole concept of Amazon Event Bridge. Okay, so what is Amazon Event Bridge? So it is basically a serverless event bus, which the goal of which is to connect various applications by providing a way to transport the data from source application to destination application. So for example, considering our scenario which we are going to do on hands-on, we are going to transport the data from guard duty to the SQS queue, right? So event bridge is, as the name suggests, is going to create a bridge between the guard duties application and the SQS application, and then the data will be transported from guard duty to the SQS queue. Simple. So as mentioned the second point, it connects the source and target application and bridge them basically. They have added a lot of event sources and the targets in the event bridge. So that's why it has been given on different name or as a service altogether in the CloudWatch. You can filter the events before sending those events to the target. For example, let's say that you are processing some data and you identify that, okay, I don't want to process or send the data which are related to let's say which are related to your informational log, right? So you can filter that data at the Lambda function level. That is altogether a different service, but you can use that here, right? The next thing is that the thing is a single rule can route to multiple targets, right? So let's say that I have created a event bridge rule, right? So this is possible that from the same rule I can target a single application to send the data or transport the data across multiple targets, right? For example, if I want to send the data from a guard duty to not only to SQS, I want also to send to the guard duty and also to the SNS topic. That is very much feasible using the Amazon Event Bridge. So this is really helpful feature. Okay, I've mentioned an example here. Let's say that if you want to log the state of Amazon EC2 instance, right? For example, if you want to say whether the EC2 instance is in start state or stop state or on hold state, you can get these things done using the event bridge, and this will be helpful for the administrator to handle the stuff, right? Don't worry about the details of this. I'll provide a link so that you can go through them. Okay, so let's visualize so that you get a better understanding about the Amazon Event Bridge. As you see, on the left hand side you have all the source application, on the right hand side you have all the target application, right? So all the source application can be any AWS services, it can be any SaaS based application, or it can be any custom apps which is created by the developer or for specific requirement in your case, right? So those data from the source or the events will be transported to the Amazon Event Bridge, where it has its own schema, and based on that schema it gonna store all these event sources to the different event buses that these have, and then the rule that you have created and the filters that you applied on the rules, that will be processed, and then this data will be sent to your targets. It can be Kinesis data, Firehose, or Amazon SNS, or AWS Lambda. As I told, there are 90 different sources and the 15 different targets which Amazon Event Bridge as of today supports. It might change in the future, it might increase for sure, but right now this is 90 source and 15 target which is supported by Amazon Event Bridge. Great. So now coming back to the hands-on, right? I'll help you visualize how the data is gonna flow from the guard duty till the Splunk instance and how the SOC analyst is going to investigate later, right? So I've explained this part in my earlier video also, where I have explained about the guard duty integration via S3 bucket. So here the guard duty has the security intelligence coming from various logs. The various logs that we have here is VPC flow logs, the CrowdTrail logs, and the DNS logs. Okay, so these logs will be processed and analyzed by Amazon Guard Duty, and it will provide us alerts, or basically in the Guard Duty terms or AWS terms we call it findings. Now those findings will be sent across to SQS queue. Right here, this is the SQS queue via the event bridge. So we'll create an event bridge so that we can send the data from Guard Duty, the source, to the target, that is SQS queue. Okay, so I mistakenly written AWS Guard Duty, but this is AWS SQS queue. And then this data will be sent across to the Splunk, where the Splunk will basically parse the data using the application called as Splunk add-on for Amazon Web Services. And then finally, once the alerts are processed, the SOC analyst will investigate those alerts. Okay. So let us see what are steps we need to perform before we go to the hands-on, right? So the first thing that we're going to do is enable the guard duty and generate some sample finding for the guard duty. Second thing, we're going to create a policy where we'll provide the permission to SQS queue so that the Splunk will be able to pull the data from the SQS queue, right? So since in the Splunk add-on we need to provide an IAM account, we're going to create an IAM account and attach the above policy which we have created to this IAM account. Then we're going to create an Amazon SQS queue where we're going to store the data temporarily before it is pulled by the consumer. That is Splunk here. Then we're going to create an Amazon Event Bridge, basically to transport the data from your guard duty to the SQS queue. And then we're going to install the Splunk add-on, and then we're going to configure the IAM account and the inputs on the Splunk add-on. And the last step, basically we're going to validate whether we are getting the guard duty finding as expected or not. Okay, great. So let's quickly jump to our hands-on. Okay, so quickly open the log into your AWS console, and as you see, I've already enabled the guard duty and I've generated some sample finding. But let me take this chance to explain you how to generate the sample finding. So on the AWS guard duty, let me zoom in on screen a little bit. Okay, great. So go to the settings section under the guard duty, and if you go below you will find a section which is called sample finding, right? So click on generate sample finding. So let me show you what finding that we have already. We have a finding which is exactly 20 minutes ago, right? And 9 days ago. So let me create a sample finding again now. So let me generate some sample finding. That's it. So one click and you should be seeing some sample finding which is generated just a few seconds ago, right? Okay, great. Now moving on to the next step, we are going to create a policy where we're going to provide the permission for SQSQ. So let's quickly jump on to the IAM management console, which I have it open here. Click on the policy section, click on create policy, and choose the service, right? In our case it will be SQS. Select the service, and then you need to provide the list permission, the read permission, so that you can read from the SQSQ, the Splunk can read from SQSQ. And yeah, I think we should be good by this. As you see here, we have a warning right here. So either you specify the queue resource here. The queue resource is basically the Amazon SQSQ that we're going to create. You can add an RN here. Since I have not created yet, I'll just click on any and this warning will go away. Now click on review policy and provide it a name. So let me name this as policy Splunk read from SQSQ. So it will be beneficial if you provide a naming convention which will be helpful to understand why you have created this and provide a description, and then click on create policy. Okay, great. So we have our policy created. Okay, now let's go to our user section and create a new user. Okay, so click on create user and let me give the name of this user as IAM user, which is used for Splunk SQS code, right? And I'm going to give a programmatic access to this. Click on next and attach the existing policy. Just search for it, Splunk, and yeah, voila. So this is our policy that we have created, and then click on next. Provide a tag if you want to. Click on review. So we have a username here and the policy which we have attached to this user, right? Now click on create user. So when you click on create user, it will provide you credentials. So you need to download this credential because we're gonna need it while pulling the SQSQ from this Splunk, right? Okay, great. So once this is done, click on close. So now we have enabled the guard duty, generated sample finding, created a IAM policy, and attached that policy to the user account which we have created just now. Okay, great. So the next step, we're gonna create a queue. Okay, so this is how it will look like when you open the SQS. You can simply search for SQS in the service and you'll get simple queue service, right? So it will take you to this page. Now click on create queue. Okay, so as you see, there are two methods, either standard or FIFO. So as I mentioned initially, that either you can use standard, but there is no guarantee that it will be processed based on will be pulled based in a specific order. But if you want the data to be pulled in a specific order, use FIFO. I'm just going to use standard as of now, and let me give a name, SQS queue for guard duty findings, right? So I've given the name SQS queue guard duty finding. And yeah, this is the basic, this is the default configuration that being set up on your SQS queue. So you have visibility timeout. So it's basically it means that the length of time that this message stays invisible in the SQS queue once a message is picked up by the consumer, right? So let's say that the first message is, let's say you have three messages A, B and C. So once the consumer pulls the message A, then it will wait for 30 seconds for the another message to be visible, right? And as I told, retention period is 4 days by default. You can increase or decrease based on your requirement, and as I said, it can be from 1 minute till 14 days. So if you want to have any delay in the delivery, you can increase the delivery delay, right? Let's suppose that after A you want the delivery of the other message only after 10 seconds, so you can add those time here. And then message size, as I said, it can be between 1 to 256 KB, and if you want to use more than that, you have to use the library, Java library, right? Receive message wait time, right? So that implies the maximum amount of time that polling will wait for the message to become available to receive, right? So let's say that if you want that a specific message to be visible or basically available for it to be pulled by Splunk, let's say after 50 seconds, so you can add it here. I'm leaving it default as of now. And one thing is that if you just click on the infos, right, it will provide you the details as what was it all about, right? So use this documentation. AWS documentation is really good. Next, the access policy, right? So here we need to provide what's the policy that you're going to use. So I'm going to use a basic access policy method, right? You can use advanced if you want to. If you have a complex, if you are aware how to create a JSON, you can you can create a complex policy using the advanced method. I'm going with the basic method, and then I want to provide two configuration here: who can send the message to the queue and who can receive the message from the queue, right? So I want to provide this access only to specific AWS account. So I'll go back to my account, right? This is my account, and I copy the ARN from here, and I'm going to copy and paste it here, right? So only this specific account can send the messages to this queue, and only this specific account can receive the messages from the queue, right? So I will, as I mentioned earlier, I will provide the same account on my Splunk so that it can pull the messages from SQS queue. Okay, now there are other additional configuration that you might want to do. If you want to encrypt it, it's optional. Dead letter queue. So as I told, right, if you want to have a check of the messages which are not processed, it will be sent to dead letter queue if you configure it, and then you can troubleshoot it later and then rectify that thing. If you enable it, you need to create a specific dead letter queue separately, right? Okay, now you can add a tag. I just leave it as it is and then create a queue. So as you see, my queue has been created, right? This is my queue name, this is my ARN, and one more option that you have is you can have this SNS subscription here, right? So you can subscribe your data to a SNS topic, and which again can send to your SQS queue, right? So you can configure this, but for our hands-on we don't require this, but this is again one more additional option that we have. Let me know if you want me to create another video on the SNS topic, right? And integration of guard duty using the SNS topic. Okay, great. So now once we are done with this method, the next step that we're going to move ahead is with the creation of Amazon Event Bridge, right? So Amazon Event Bridge, as I told, is a CloudWatch event formerly known as, and it provides the functionality from the CloudWatch events, and also launched a new features which I've already explained, right? So let us quickly jump and create a rule in the Amazon Event Bridge, right? So whenever you come to the CloudWatch, right? This is the basic initial homepage that will look like. Then after that, you need to go to the rules part, right? Under the events, CloudWatch events, or basically the Amazon Event Bridge here, right? Now click on create a rule, and as I told you, right, it helps you transport the data from a specific source to the target application. So in this case, our source is guard duty, right? So I'm gonna select the service here, which is guard duty. And if you want specifically just the guard duty finding, you can select this, but I'm not going to select all the events as of now. And then I'm going to add a target to which this will be sent. In our case, it will be SQSQ, right? I'm going to select my SQSQ which I have created. The additional input, if you want, you can configure it. Basically, you want the matched event. This is basically everything, right? So whatever you will receive from the source, that will be stored in as the messages in the SQSQ. You can have some filtering based on the part of the matched event or JSON text or input transformer, right? So you can configure all this, right? So I'm going with the matched event, and once done, I'll click on configure details, right? So now I'm gonna give it a name. Okay, so let me name this as rule guard duty events SQSQ. Okay, provide a description if you want to, and keep a note that this should be checked, right? This is enabled, and create a rule now. Great. So now we have a rule which is going to basically connect our guard duty services, or basically a source guard duty, to the specific target, that is SQSQ here. Great. So now we have completed most of the configuration that needs to be done on the AWS side. I think almost everything. Now, as a next step, we are going to configure the Splunk, right? So I've already explained in my previous video how to install the Splunk add-on, right? So that's pretty simple. I'll provide a description link with the steps as how to install this Splunk add-on for AWS. Okay, so once you create a Splunk, install the Splunk add-on, we are going to add an account. So I've added this account already. Let me create a new account for our case. So let me give this account as guard duty SQS test, and I have to provide my key ID and the secret key which I have just downloaded when I have created the IAM user account, right? And which is downloaded here. So let me open this file and let me paste the secret key ID and the secret code. Okay, and click on add. So now we have added the account. Okay, and as you see, we have still not configured any input. That's why it doesn't show any input here. So now quickly jump on to the input section of the add-on. And in the meantime, let me explain you something, that in this case, my Splunk version is 7.3.6, right? So from the Splunk 8.0, it supports only Python 3, and the specific add-on which I have downloaded, this version is 4.x, right? So if you want to use, if you are on the Splunk version 8.0, then in that case you need to use a Splunk add-on version of 5 and above. If you are on the lower, if you are a version below 8, Splunk version below 8, in that case you will have to use the Splunk add-on version of below than 5. Okay, so let me disable this here, and let me create a, I'll just disable the previous input that I have created, and let me create a new input here. So basically I'll just go to the custom data type, right? And then I'm going to create a SQS data type here, right? And then I'm going to give a name. Let's say let me give a name as SQS guard duty input, and if you see, my account will automatically pop out. So the account that I've just created is guard duty SQS test. Okay, this is optional. We're going to provide the SQSQ we have created in which region, right? So if we check our SQSQ, it has been created in the Mumbai region, that is AP South 1, right? So we'll go quickly here, we'll go to Mumbai, and it should automatically load my SQSQ which is created in that specific region. It might take some time, but yeah, it is here, right? So this is the queue that I have created in my Mumbai region. If you want, we can have a look. So this is my queue name, SQSQ guard duty finding, right? Okay, great. So So now the source type by default will be AWS SQS, and the index I'm choosing it as main now, right? And in the advanced setting you can have an interval as how quickly you want to pull this. I'm leaving it as default to 30 seconds, right? And once done, click on save. Okay, great. So now we have configured the IAM account, we have configured the input section. Now let us quickly go to our search and reporting application and check whether we are getting the logs or not. It might take some time to receive the to pull the logs from the SQS queue. So let me check the permissions. Okay, so this is my permissions, and let me go to the policy, and in the policies, okay, I think the issue could be that in the policy we don't have the permission for sending the message, right? So let us, as we have given the permissions there, right, the IAM user account should be able to send the message. So let us quickly edit the policy and add additional permission, choose the service as SQS, and in the right part let us select send message. Okay, send message, set queue attributes. Okay, and then okay, I think this should be enough. Let us quickly check, and just to remove the warning I'm gonna click on any, otherwise you need to specify the RN of the SQS. Click on review policy, and we have done, and then click on save changes. So now we have additional 3 permissions. Let me go back to SQS queue, and it shows 0 message available. Let me quickly check if I have any. You can go to the monitoring section to check whether it has processed any messages or not. Okay, so if you see, so it has already received few messages, and approximate number of messages visible is basically 71. Okay, and the number of messages deleted is also 71. So the messages have come and basically have been sent. If you see, the number of messages sent is 71, right? Let us quickly check whether we have received the messages now or not. It might take a minute or 2 minutes of time before we receive messages. Let us quickly check. Okay, great. So if you see, if I just search it for last 60 minutes, if you see, I have the logs which is from August 8th, right? That is today is August 8th, and the time if you see 11:09, and this is almost at 10:59 a.m. is the latest message that I received. All the 71 messages which I have received, if you see, I have received 71 messages or guard duty finding. We can quickly check that from guard duty also. So if you see, we have 72 messages, but we have received almost 71 messages which have been sent to the Amazon SQS, right? Okay, so that is great. So let us quickly verify whether this is coming from the same queue or not. So if you see here, the source is nothing but SQS queue guard duty finding, which is the same SQS queue where we have sent the logs to, right? And these are the logs belonging to your guard duty findings as highlighted here, right? Let me zoom a bit, right? So if you see, these are the logs which are related to guard duty finding. So this is the way through which you can integrate or basically onboard AWS guard duty onto this Splunk, and then create some alerting based on the score of the guard duty findings, and then the analyst can perform the investigation on the same. Okay, let me rewind all the steps that I performed at last time so that we'll have understanding what actually have been done, right? So as you see, initially we have generated some sample finding, guard duty finding. You can perform this step 1 after creating an Amazon SQS queue also. This is not necessary that you have to initially enable the guard duty finding and generate sample guard duty findings. And then the next step is creation of the IAM policy, where we have provided the permission. I'll provide the permissions that needs to be applied in the description below. And then the step 3, you need to perform IAM account creation and then attach the policy which you have created in the above step to this account. And then create Amazon SQS queue and then create an Amazon event bridge to transport the data from the GuardDuty to your SQS queue. And then install the Splunk add-on and then configure the IAM account and the inputs on the Splunk add-on, and then finally validate the GuardDuty finding with this Splunk. You have liked the video which I have created on onboarding the GuardDuty log using SQS. The major differentiator being here is that I have not utilized any S3 bucket. But there will always be a requirement from the organization that you want to have a retention of the data on your S3 bucket, and then you push that data to your Splunk. So just in case, if you're not able to maintain the retention of more than 60 days onto your SIEM tool, you can always come back and check on the S3 bucket to see and troubleshoot or basically investigate any data related to this. But the whole idea of having this creating this video without S3 bucket is to show that how SQS can be used to onboard the GuardDuty without any issue or without struggling more with the S3 bucket. Because a simple concept that I have in mind is that since the SIEM is gonna store the data for next 60 days, 90 days or 180 days at least, then I don't think we need to store in S3 bucket and let again pay for the S3 bucket that we are storing and transferring the data to. So hope this session was helpful. Let me know if you have any queries or if you have any other topics that you want me to cover. I'll be happy to explain those videos, and please provide your feedback to let me know how I can make this better.